Alhamdulillah, with regards to our program and actually sticking to our itinerary. The first is to complete the commentary, reading from Ibn Rajab. We gave the commentary, the sharh, but reading from the classical commentary, the sharh of the hadith of Uthman, the main theme of our topic, or we can see having questions from the brothers or the sisters here, or those who are online. Inshallah ta'ala, we have about half an hour before we're going to conclude our program this evening. Inshallah. So, once more, we're going to read more or take a few questions that may be pertaining to the topic or off of the topic. What's going to be able to solve it? See the decision.
Let's read more and we ask the questions tomorrow, inshallah.
Khairan, inshallah. Are there any questions online, Mahdi? Khairan, inshallah. Let's get started. Ibn Rajab, rahimahullah, says, وَأَمَّا قَوْلُهُ مِنْهُ فليس المراد أنه على قدره ولا على صفته في بنيانه، ولكن المراد الله أعلم أنه يوسع بنيانه بحسب توسعته، أو يوسع بنيانه بحسب توسعته، ويحكم بنيانه بحسب إحكامه، لا من جهة الزخرفة، ويكمل انتفاعه بما بني أو يبنى له في الجنة بحسب كمال انتفاع الناس بما بناه لهم في الدنيا، ويشرف على سائر بنيان الجنة كما تشرف المساجد في الدنيا على سائر البنيان، وإن كان لا نسبة لما في الدنيا إلى ما في الآخرة، كما قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم: ما الدنيا في الآخرة إلا كما يجعل أحدكم إصبعه في اليم فلينظر بما ترجع. وقد دل على ما قلناه ما خرجه الإمام أحمد من حديث أسماء بنت يزيد عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال: من بنى لله مسجدا في الدنيا فإن الله عز وجل يبني له بيتا أوسع منه في الجنة. وخرجه بمعناه من حديث حجاج عن عمرو بن شعيب عن أبيه عن جدي عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. ومن حديث واثلة بن الأسقع عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه قال: خرج البزار والطبراني من حديث أبي هريرة مرفوعا: من بنى لله بيتا يعبد الله فيه من حلال بنى الله له بيتا في الجنة من در وياقوت. وقيل إن الصحيح وقفه على أبي هريرة. Ibn Rajab, he says, when the Prophet ﷺ says, or when he said, mithlahu, whoever builds a masjid for Allah, Allah will build mithlahu, something similar to it for him in paradise. Whoever builds a masjid for Allah, meaning in this dunya, Allah will build for him something which is mithl, similar to it for him in the afterlife. He says, then the correct meaning of this hadith, the correct understanding of this hadith, he says it is not this size. It isn't the size of the masjid that you build in this dunya. It doesn't mean, he says, it does not mean that if you build a small masjid in this life, Allah will build a small masjid for you in thereafter. He says it doesn't mean that. It doesn't necessarily mean that if you build a big masjid in this dunya, Allah will build a big house for you in thereafter. Not masjid, house, bait. He says it what? That's not what's meant here. That's not what? That's not what's meant. He says, nor does it mean the actual description of the house, of the bait. I built a house in America for Allah's sake, the masjid is made out of stone. It doesn't mean that in the hereafter in paradise, Allah will build for me a house which is made out of what? Stone. Does not mean that. The sifa. Or it had 2 floors or 3 floors in the basement in a yard. It doesn't mean it's going to be like that what? In Jannah. That's not what's meant by this hadith. He says, however, the intended meaning is, he says, and of course Allah surely knows best, the intended meaning is that the expansion will be based off of how expensive it was, what? In this life. In other words, according to how much you spend and how much work you put in. He says here, and the precision, the beauty of the house, and how it was constructed masterfully crafted, that's how it will be for him what? In the hereafter. He says here, and also another very important point is how much the people benefited from this masjid. How much the people benefited from this masjid. Will have on what type of house you have in paradise, in Jannah. So you go to masjid for Allah's sake, in which you place knowledge, in which you promote and pump and propagate the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, and the correct fiqh, the proper understanding, helping the people, treating the people in a certain way, educating the people, serving the people, and it becomes a legacy. Then bid'nai ta'ala, that is going to have an effect on what you get in the hereafter. And the opposite is the opposite. Many of us, we may build masjids in which we don't have the necessary proper intentions, or we may not necessarily have the proper knowledge. And the masjid is a shell, it's dead. There's nothing that's being taught, it's nothing that's being promoted, it's no true brotherhood. Oftentimes the masjid can be made for show. We built this, we made this, a big, huge building, nah? And you go there for Salat al-Maghrib and it's only one car, what? In the parking lot. And this is a reality of many masjids. So the masjid being big or small is not the initial concern. If it's big, alhamdulillah, more people can come. No one's going to say build a small one intentionally. No. There's nothing wrong with having a masjid that's nice and clean. As far as the masjid which is adorned and beautified, then that's a different topic of discussion. That's a different topic of discussion. But a masjid that's nice and clean and it feels it's warm, it's welcoming, there's nothing wrong with that. But the most important thing is the quality of the service. Is that there's a qualified imam, a qualified brother, there's sisterhood in the masjid, there's knowledge in the masjid, there's no grave in the masjid, first and foremost. There's no bid'ah in the masjid. The masjid is not meant to be a means of political gain and agenda, personal gain and agenda. The minbar is not used as a weapon against people to talk about personal issues, but for the purpose of educating the people, enlightening the people. And if politics are being spoken about in the masjid, then it's for the purpose of the people being aware of what's going on around them. If sports are being discussed in the masjid, or a story or this and that, it's only for the purpose of brotherhood. It is a concept of just social discussion. But it's not a sports center. The masjid is not a place for sports, initially. It's not a place for this one and for that one. It's a place for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So according to how much knowledge of these things you have, how devoted and dedicated you are, that is going to have an effect on the people's benefit from your masjid. Everybody understand this? From your what? The people's benefiting what? From your masjid. If the masjid is built in this manner, with the proper knowledge, the proper intention, the masjid will become a university. Oh, this young brother, this is the masjid he's from. He learned the Quran, he studied akhlaq, he studied boxing, martial arts, he learned how to play soccer. That's his masjid, that's where he's from. The imam was strong, the assistant imam was strong, the board, the brothers, the sisters. Everybody understand this? The sister, this young sister, she learned how to do all of the things that she needs to do in life right here in this one masjid. She learned her aqidah, she learned about hijab, she learned home economics, she learned all of these things, what, right? In a masjid. Everybody doing this? A center. Everybody understand this? How much do people benefit from this house? He then says, وَيُشَرَّفْ عَلَى سَائِرِ بُنْيَانِ الْجَنَّةِ كما تشرف المساجد في الدنيا على سائر البنيان. Listen to this. He says, and also included in this hadith, is that the house that you get in paradise, it will be the noblest of all houses, just like the masjids are the noblest of buildings in this life. The bait in Jannah, that is a fruit and a product, a result of you building a masjid in this life, he says, to sharaf. It will be far nobler than all other houses in paradise. Why or how? Because the masjid is what? Far better than all what? Buildings in this dunya. أَحَبُّ الْبِقَاءِ إِلَى اللَّهِ الْمَسَاجِدِ. The most beloved places to Allah are the what? The masjids. Everybody understand this? He then says, rahimahullah, even though there's no comparison with regards to the things in this world and the things in the next. There's no comparison in reality. As the Prophet ﷺ tells us, he says, مَا الدُّنْيَا فِي الْآخِرَةِ. He says, the worldly life compared to the hereafter is nothing more than what? For you to take your finger, your index finger, he didn't specify, your pinky finger, he says, isba. Let's say index finger, perhaps. For one to take his finger and put it in a pool of water. He says, fil yam. a river bank. He says, فَلْيَنْظُرْ بِمَا يَرْجِعُ. He says, look how much water comes back on your finger. What lake? Rather we say the pool. The what? The pool that you have in the back of your house. You stick your finger and you pull it out. What? How much water? What? Has the pool been depleted? No mentioning. Let alone a huge Olympic-sized pool, collegiate-sized pool now. Let alone a lake, a river, a brook. Everybody understand this? Let alone the ocean. It's of no harm whatsoever. He says that's the comparison and reality of this life and hereafter. Just stop and think about that now. Everybody clear on this? He said, I dip my finger in the river and I put the water in a cup. Well, what value is the water going to be in a cup? Everybody understand this? That is the reality of this life in light of the what? Of the next. If we only but know. If we only but know. He then says, another thing which proves the meaning that we just gave you is that it's not going to be exact. Is a hadith that's collected by Imam Ahmad from Asma bint Yazid that the Prophet ﷺ said, whoever builds a house for Allah in the dunya, Allah Azza wa Jal will build for him a house awsa'a minhu, bigger and more expensive for him. That's what's meant. Is that you're getting the reward of the sheer act of what? Building. And everything that comes after that is extra. The size, how strong, how beneficial it was for the what? For the people. But the original concept is the actual what? Concept of what? Just building. Everybody understand this? He says here, and mentions a few narrations to support this. Now let's stop and let's ask ourselves. We've explained the hadith. What is the heart of the body of the Muslim community? Building it and maintaining it. There lies no doubt it's going to be the what? Masjid. That's where you want to get to know your brother. That's where you're going to get to know your sister. That's where you want to learn, study, teach. That's where your children are going to play around and grow up as Muslims. That's where, inshallah ta'ala, all these different things of the society are initially put into existence. But in the light of spirituality. In the light of what? Spirituality. In the light of spirituality. So the masjid is considered to be the heart. And everything within that ta'ala is going to orbit and circle around that what? That heart. Everybody clear on this building now. We have a center. We have a basketball court. Now, as we said, we have a wudu station instead of just a sink. Then we have a janazah station where we can wash our bodies. Bidnai ta'ala wa hakada. According to the means of the Muslims. According to the what? The means of the Muslims. So bidnai ta'ala, that is the main theme of the lecture. And it is based off of this hadith. Ibn Rajab rahimahullah ta'ala, he then says, regarding the part of the hadith in which Bukayr said, حَسِبْتُهُ أَنَّهُ قَالَ يَبْتَغِي بِهِ وَجْهَ اللَّهِ. When he said that, I think I heard him saying, he who builds a house seeking the face of Allah. He discusses this issue technically, and he says, وَبِكُلِّ حَالٍ فَالْإِخْلَاصُ شَرْطٌ لِحُصُولِ الثَّوَابِ فِي جَمِيعِ الْأَعْمَالِ فَإِنَّ الْأَعْمَالَ بِالنِّيَّاتِ وَإِنَّمَا لِامْرِئٍ مَا نَوَى وَبَنَاءُ الْمَسَاجِدِ من جملة الأعمال. He says here, وَبِنَاءُ الْمَسَاجِدِ